Do you like healthcare? Do you like free public schools? Well, if you do, then today's day is for you. We're going to be looking at how taxation relates to social programs here in Canada. Come on inside to find out more.
Good evening. Hopefully you're joining us after seeing the first video, which is all about social programs in Canada and the United States. This video is going to be a bit shorter. We're only going to be focusing on taxation and social programs, the connection between the two. There's going to be a lot of information for you to look at and to analyze, not a lot for me to necessarily say about it on a video. It's something that I'll just introduce what it is. You'll have to do the rest on your own. So when we're talking about taxation, we're talking about the government collecting money from people to pay for services. Taxation is very, very old. The Romans used to do it. It's been around forever. Maybe not forever, but it's been around for a long time. And it's the way governments pay for things, is they take people's money and they do stuff with the money. Sometimes that stuff is good and sometimes it's not so good. In Canada, the hope is that the government collects taxes to pay for some kinds of services. And we're all going to disagree about what services Canada pays for with taxes. Most of us are going to not like our taxes to get paid. We don't like when people take our money. But if you like the services that Canada provides, then that's where that money goes. Both federal and provincial governments collect different kinds of taxes. There's two types of federal tax. There's an income tax. So you're taxed on how much money you make. So the more money you make, the more money you give to the government is the idea. And also sales tax, like the GST, okay, which is based on what you buy, as it says below. So income's based on how much you earn, sales tax based on what you buy. Average tax for family in Canada, the last I looked, was about $39,000. In the United States, it's about $15,748 US or $19,818 Canadian. So quite a bit less. And if you think about where the United States sits on the economic and political spectrum compared to Canada, they are further right. And so you would expect that they have less social programs. They like government to be involved less. One of the reasons that the United States was formed was they were getting taxed to death by Britain, and they had no voice, no representation. So taxes have always been very, very sticky with people from the United States, and it's still that way. They pay a lot less in tax. The taxation model is pretty simple. This is taken right from your book. You work, you have a job, you get income. That income goes to individuals like you or me. You get your paycheck. Part of that paycheck goes to taxes. Those taxes go to the government. The government then doles out the money to different people for different things like education, income assistance, services, all kinds of different things. And that could be anything down from like the roads in Edmonton to like, I don't know, national dental program or something like that the NDP is trying to get passed. Okay, so here's where your tax money goes. You saw this at the first video, at the very introduction of the chapter video. Here's another one. This is older than the previous one I showed you. This is from 2010, 2011, but it shows you for every dollar in Canada, here's how much a percentage goes to different things. Like you'll see at the bottom, the Canada Health Transfer is about 10% of the money, or 10 cents to the dollar. Defense, that'd be the military, 8% on the dollar. Supports to elderly, 13 cents. You get the idea. Okay, so you should be familiar with something like this. This is where our tax money goes to. Here's another view. This is the one that was at the start of the first video. Same kind of thing. You can take a look at this, study it, kind of get to know a little bit of what it's all about. This is something for Edmonton. In class, we're going to actually look at the website and go into it. I'm not going to do that with you here on the video, but you can go to Edmonton's, like the city website, and you can start clicking around. And you can actually find how they spend their money, broken down by department, by department, by department, and it goes in and in and in, and it shows where all that money comes from. We do that in class, but basically you can see like city operations in that light blue. I'll kind of circle it here, like this one. You can click that and you can find out what city operations means. And one thing we do is we look at, like, where's the LRT? How does the LRT get paid for? How much of that is tax money? How much is it not? All these different kinds of things. It's kind of a cool thing that Edmonton shows you exactly where every cent is paid for in their budget on the main website. Those social programs in Canada versus the US, here's just some things you can take a look at. Remember that things like revenue is money coming in, okay? And so any spending is going out, these outlays, right? Things that we're spending money on, but revenue is how much we're getting money in. So the federal budget in 2019, this is showing Social Security, Medicare. This is the United States. Medicaid. These are all things they're paying for. This is how much money they were getting. Okay, this is in 2019. Other things over here on the left are things like the United States, because you can see Social Security and money coming in, money going out, stuff like that. I put these both up here. I'll get rid of those things. Put these both up here because you can compare what the United States spends their money on versus what we spend our money on and things like this. Okay, so take a look at that so you can kind of get a feel of how much is different and stuff like that. Well, in the end of the day, paying taxes or not paying taxes affects our quality of life. We're always looking at how these things affect our quality of life and what it does for us. So one of the things to say is to not pay taxes is a thing called tax evasion. Okay, this is something that is illegal. And in most countries, you have to pay taxes. Not all, but in many, many, many countries you do. Taxes of some kind are usually a law in in nearly every country. Sometimes it's income tax, sometimes it's a sales tax, sometimes it's just a walk down the street tax. There's lots of different ways to tax people. There's road taxes where you drive on a road, you have to pay a fee. There's all kinds of things like that, right? Generally speaking, it's usually income tax. You report to the government how much money you made, and then you pay them the appropriate amount. Tax base means all of the economic activity that is generated from people making money. And that pays for our social programs, as you were seeing a few slides ago. There's a thing called the underground economy, though, the black market you might have heard of, which is working without paying taxes. Now, this is something fun because what happens is you work a job and you don't pay taxes on it because you don't report that income to the Canadian Revenue Agency, the CRA. You probably are part of the black market. If you've ever mowed a lawn and somebody gave you $20, you didn't report that. If you've got a little summer job where you're doing some work around and they pay you a few $100 over the summer, you probably don't report that on taxes. That's part of the black market, the underground economy. There's a certain level of it that we're okay with. After a threshold, if you were mowing lawns and making $50,000 a year doing that, the government for sure would care. If you're mowing lawns and you made $1,500, I don't think the government will care. So there's a threshold, usually about a certain amount of money you have to make before you report it to the government. Anything under that's generally seen as okay, but that underground economy is sometimes a very big thing. You might get people like are doing plumbing or working on houses, and they're like, hey, can you just pay me cash? Sometimes, not always, but sometimes that's because they don't want to report that on their taxes. Okay, there's a cartoon about this. You can read it. It's all about that underground economy. Okay, and then they give some advice for readers that's right from the book about, what do we do in these different cases with, paying for money and stuff like that. And that's going to finish us up for this video. We're going to start video 3 talking about the different political parties and going into that and what their stance on taxation and social programs are. So for now, that's all we really got to say is look at where the money is spent, how does it go, how do we generate it, how is it split up amongst Canada and the United States, and so what social programs does it go to. Thanks for watching today. We'll see you next time.